Hi, I'm Sarah Borkerson-Keto with REIT.com here at REITWorld 2013 in San Francisco, talking with Ted Rollins, Chairman and CEO of Campus Crest. Thanks for coming by, Ted.
Thanks for having us.
In August, Campus Crest announced a new student housing concept, EVO, in Montreal, and you've been looking at Canada for several years now. Why was the timing right to do this international move now, and how does EVO fit in with your other brands, Copper Beach and The Grove?
Well, for us, we followed student trends in Canada for a while, and the opportunity presented us by an investor in Canada, and they asked us to look at the asset with them and consider being partners with them. And when we looked at the Montreal, market as our first entry point into Canada, it was very compelling, given the number of students within a very close radius. So, roughly there's 120,000 students within a radius of our property there. So it was an unserved market. It had 4 universities directly, or I would say close to our property. And those 4 had a very limited number of beds on campus. And we saw a trend towards a purpose-built product in that market. And a need for it, and a large amount of international students as well. And then speaking about the EVO brand, the EVO brand evolved. It stands for evolve. It's kind of the short version of evolved, right? Evolving student living in an urban setting. That started with us in Philadelphia. So we have a project that's a high-rise on the campus of Penn with a partner, Brandywine Realty Trust in Philadelphia. In that market, the EVO brand evolved because we looked at our stable of brands, which was Copper Beach and Grove, and we wanted to have a new, hip, urban way of basically combining graduate and undergraduate living in an urban setting, but not sacrificing the residence experience, and in fact kicking it up a notch in an urban setting. And so EVO came out of that.
Now, 2013 has been a very active year for you. Looking at 2014, how will you prioritize?
We have very solid teams in each of the brands. And we were fortunate that when we purchased Copper Beach that it had a team in place that was, I would say very complementary to what we do. And so that asset, we had a great addition of talent in our ranks. In the Grove side of the business, our teams continually improve, and our recruitment and retaining and teaching and development there is, I would tell you, the best in the business. And so our teams in those 2 brands have really done well. And then our EVO team is just getting going, but they've done an excellent job in the 2 markets where we are. And so as far as it being busy and prioritizing, I think our priority is and always will be the customer experience and our employees' experience. And as we've continued to invest in our employees and our customer experience, that really sets the stage for a success in the endeavors that we have in those 3 brands.
Right, now looking at the economy and the impact on students going forward, do you feel that Campus Crest is well positioned to withstand challenges from higher tuition?
That's a good question. We've invested our dollars in 2/3 in what we call primary non-flagship, and all that is that each state has a flagship school or 2 or 3. The University of Georgia, Georgia Tech, or in Michigan, Michigan State, or University of Michigan. But they have a very robust higher ed system below that top name brand. And in fact, the enrollment in those across that state is higher than the 2 name brands combined. And the value proposition in tuition at those primary non-flagship far and away exceeds that of a private school, so it's 3 times less than a private school. Our average tuition across the U.S. in our properties that we serve, or our schools that we serve, is about $10,000 a year. So a lot of that is people saying, okay, well, my kid goes to a private school, or gosh, tuition's $50,000 a year. Well, it's not. And the fact of the matter is mom and dad are more conscious consumers of that undergraduate education now. And the value that these primary non-flagship schools provide at that $10,000 price point per year is a very solid value proposition, a very solid education. And what we're seeing is parents and students recognizing the need for an undergraduate degree, but not the need to go out of state, not the need to go to the private school to get it. There's a kind of migration, is what we would say, to value in education. And that's really, in this environment where you see tuitions increasing, we're seeing enrollment growth in the schools that we serve because they provide a better value.
Okay, thank you very much, Ted.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Thanks.
And for more news and analysis on all things REIT, please visit REIT.com.